There you go.
He's more interested in what, the two muggers?
David not only doesn't care about this ghost, he's happy it's gone. It was dangerous.
Yeah, from Joseph's perspective, the most dangerous thing it did was misplace his friend. Breaking the mind, that's nothing. The mind breaking thing, that's just a sort of you take it with being the immortal. It's part of the whole package.
See, guys, here's where we get to the whole non-Malkavian versus Malkavian spectrum.
Yeah.
It's like Nam all over again. So?
David's overwhelmingly more concerned about those mortals, or in his case, the one mortal he thinks is involved.
Byron's just worried that it might trace back to him somehow. Other than that, he wants so little to do with this. On a scale of 1 to 10, he's a -2 for how much he cares.
Anyway, chaotic idealism. The reason David doesn't trust the party is because he sees one of them as having questionable judgment, one of them as having questionable motivation, and one of them having questionable competence, and varying levels of each of them throughout the rest.
Is David perhaps considering a circumvention of the whole entire Marcus situation and perhaps trying to get to the individual Marcus visited with?
I mean, no one's asked
more
Marcus where this place is.
David has more pressing things to deal with. Ideally, he'll someday go out to Yonkers and deal with this necromancer. But it's not going to be this month.
Because all the way out in Yonkers, what the fuck is it going to do to us?
Past Yonkers.
Oh, Larian? It's because the coterie facilitates him having this entire goddamn domain. They've proven to nevertheless be decent allies because, hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad in the case of each of them.
Yeah. They've also protected him whenever he's gone into torpor, including one situation when he frenzied on the coterie.
He has a second stage blood bond with 2 of them. And the third one, he just questions the competence, not the motivation or judgment. Lots of reasons. Lots and lots of reasons. David stands way more to gain from dealing with these decidedly imperfect beings than he does by saying, well, you guys should be perfect, so I'm leaving.
Yes.
And he
David, the perfect vampire.
Oh yeah, no, David totally thinks he's perfect.
While I'm thinking about it, actually, David, where was the ship that he told the rest of the coterie about? We had this argument whenever you were gone. I fucking forgot. I thought it was like maybe College Point, maybe by it, but Krypsyn said, well, I thought it was like out of Astoria. We couldn't remember.
No, I think I'm totally wrong now, but let's see what he said.
No, it was down in Breezy Point.
Well, there you go.
Down here.
We were all wrong.
There you go.
Yeah,
I forgot.
It's on the ocean. Like, this isn't a place that he'll dash to within his own neighborhood. This is, well, it's time to leave the city. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Because there was a situation where Marcus was fleeing from an incident because he thought he saw Sevalod behind him while you were gone, and there's a question of where Marcus would run to, the safest possible place, and the result ended up being the ship.
So apparently Marcus ran all the way to Breezy Point.
Apparently.
Well, he doesn't tire.
There too.
Well, he doesn't get tired, so he could totally do it.
Yep.
Just sprinting the whole way there.
And to be fair, none of us would have followed you there, ever. I mean, that was the safest place. So
I mean, I'm pretty sure no one could keep up with him unless you got into a car.
You'd have to wound Marcus in order to keep up with him.
Well, I mean, eventually he's going to run out of blood to pump into celerity.
I mean, even...
He
Yeah,
doesn't have to exactly pump it into celerity to have, like, automatic successes. They're there. They add to all of his dexterity things.
yeah, and dexterity means he just runs farther. Yes, using
That's
celerity
fair,
means...
and I guess someone with superhuman dexterity running at a full sprint would need a car to keep up with them.
And, you know, he never tires, because he's undead.
I
Hey,
mean, yeah, you can use celerity to technically go faster in a single, you know, action round, but you still run pretty damn fast with just celerity.
We should get Marcus a bicycle.
Oh
You-
no,
you
not
got
this
my-
again.
You figured out my master plan with all my disciplines.
Yes,
I mean,
Auspex is
they
great
all add
and
up to
running
something.
back.
They, in comments to things, like I said, this was the most secretive session. You know, the proper sort of secrets are instilled on the audio podcast front, because whenever, you know, if I were recording my screen, you'd be able to see what I was messaging to everyone, what they were messaging back to me, and all of the secret dice rolls. There were a lot of secret dice rolls.
I mean, they can watch they can watch my VODs and see what I was typing to you, but that's only one side of the conversation.
Right.
See, I only started getting involved in secret things at the tail end of the session, so I'm feeling
Yeah,
left out for once on the secret front.
You don't know. I think me and Joseph were on like 30 minutes in, we were already whispering Grimith.
Yeah, that was pretty much right off the bat. That was a first chance we got. Cat.
You know, just, it all happened so fast, man.
Yeah, yeah, a couple of sessions ago, figured out how to GM and been whispering ever since.
Apparently you like my new Marcus. Apparently you like my new Marcus voice, Grimith.
I do. I thought it was great. It's just this whole sort of, whatever, fuck it all.
Yeah, it was basically, I'm like, how would I speak if I was just saying fuck it all? I'll speak like that.
How do you feel about your character's development in this session, Jordan? He definitely did banish the ghost there for the necromancer, as far as he could tell, and the humanity drop as well as the conscience drop, because he botched it.
I feel the humanity and the conscience are probably closer to where I was thinking he was anyways. Now I can more roleplay him as that guy that just sort of just says fuck it all now. I enjoy the character development a lot, though. I don't know how everyone else feels about it, though.
I feel like we kind of need someone both willing and able to do the shitty things.
And I think it's just awesome that it's the Toreador.
The Toreador who's basically just a Bruja.
I'm just a Bruja with a lot of dots and auspics.
Which have probably been Marcus's saving grace in this campaign.
Oh, apparently I've been, when you've been rolling them, I've been rolling like a god.
I'm gonna give this difficulty 10.
I mean, he's been apparently secretly being telepathic. He saw the sheriff. All kinds of aspects going on that none of us ever really get told about until after the fact.
Yeah, I saw the sheriff. You're like, what? I mean,
That moment was awesome, by the way, when Sevlon just pulls the sheriff out and just makes him cringe on the floor, and it comes to light that he'd been following you the entire time.
and Marcus knew the entire time.
Right. I mean, you were leading him there to his doom, and it just, you didn't know it yet. That was awesome.
Say, all of you guys, were just like, you'd come there with your own plan to try to get Leslie Cutter back, and then...
Of course, Jermaine knew what he was doing the whole time.
Jermaine
Did
definitely
Jermaine-
did know, because Sevalon told him that don't argue with them about this. Let them come.
And Jermaine, because of that, intentionally played devil's advocate to try to seem like he was trying to convince the party not to go to Sevalon's.
See, the only difference was, as Aaron said, he thought that it was going to be Theo Bell and not the sheriff.
Right.
And yes, with what has transpired over the past 2 sessions, it is definitely very fair to say that this campaign is racing to its mind-shattering, heart-stopping conclusion. The coterie is in as much disarray as the entire city of New York, although you have Carter Vanderweyden, who's pretty much risen to his position. There's no one left to challenge him except for Morlena and the Anarchs, and they would never dare such a thing with Theo Bell here, and it is quite possible that their own fate and demise it's already been written, and it just hasn't been told yet. But the characters, with their involvement and their noses to the grindstone, have actually gotten into the internal affairs and politicking of vampires with their own diverse views, and while we've skipped a lot of that, we've skipped much of it. The sort of internal drama that happens with the day-to-day progression of being a vampire and the amorality of drinking someone's blood and the sort of nitty-gritty attitudes of that, we've finally found a position on which the coterie is divided, effectively 4 ways. And it's such a strong divide that they're actually willing to go to blows with each other over it rather than acquiescing.
I'm just surprised it was all over a little girl ghost.
It was over
You
human
are?
sacrifice.
Well, according to Joseph, it was over a little girl ghost.
Well, for Joseph, it was over the sending little girl ghost to hell.
Yeah, it started with a little girl ghost, which started whenever Marcus got evicted from his old haven and started sleeping in the Majestic, thus forming an unintentional bond with her.
We still don't know who did that.
No, you do not.
I mean, there's a lot of plot points that we just sort of dropped.
Well, a lot of plot points that we don't know how to pursue.
No, we dropped. Grimith still has.
I mean, it's perfectly fair. I mean, you guys are you're very powerful, and that's something that I've learned a lot. Perhaps one of my gripes with this system is that your characters start off, I mean, it's not like a level 1 character type thing, particularly in New York City like this, where there's not a real established elder base. You all are immensely powerful compared to 95% of the people you'll ever meet, with capabilities that are vastly beyond human imagination and only grow from there, with 200-ish at least other kindred in the city, perhaps with their own motives, not to mention any Cainites, not to mention any Anarchs. It's only natural that there are going to be plots which not only do you not know until they hit you, but you're not sure how to pursue. I mean, in other sort of campaign systems, you'd want to have opportunities to latch onto them as much as you can, and to an extent, there is an opportunity for you guys to do anything. As this is a sandbox, it's kind of like, even if I did figure this out, how would I resolve this situation? Let's say that Jermaine was responsible for all of this shit. Let's say Jermaine tried to kill Byron. Okay. How do we deal with that? Jermaine trying to kill Byron. Jermaine doesn't have any protections. Jermaine has like an anarch sort of dealing. What do we go to Staten Island, try to kill him? Do we sabotage his interests? What do we do? Even if you guys do know that you do like a risk-reward return because you're vampires, you're not heroes, and you're like, No, no, no. We're just gonna have to keep better security. Maybe Mikhail Vargas was poisoned. Maybe he was poisoned by Germain. Maybe it was some sort of hidden poison that a normal talk screen wouldn't pick up. You'd have to do a complete broadband total search for anything and find out that it's some sort of random attribute that no one would have ever guessed or tested for because the law enforcement group doesn't have enough money for that. Then you're
Maybe
like,
it was a flesh-crafted coronary blockage.
yeah. And so you just like, there's just way too many. It's the fact where it's like, you guys have so much shit going on, everyone else has so much shit going on. You just have to pick what's important to you.
It's like
Yeah,
starting a
Jason-
campaign in D&D at level 15 with like the entire plot already written out.
Maybe not 15, but point taken. I
Well,
agree
in
with-
New York it's like 15, and like normal it's like 8 to 10.
Right. The but case in point for what Grim was talking about is that conversation that Byron had with Valentine and Gabrielle, where about Carter Vandenwagen, where they were not too subtly saying, "Oh, Carter's just a means to an end." There's an agenda there going on that, I mean, Byron surely saw the subtext, but he's not touching with a 10-foot pole because he knows nothing about it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but he sensed that, Byron senses that Valentine has some sort of agenda that's going to happen within a few years at the most of Carter Vanderweyden taking power.
Oh, short time for Valentine's
Yeah.
a relative his age.
Right, right, exactly.
And that's another major hurdle you guys end up running into as well. Unlike, say, something like a Warhammer campaign where, you know, even though things are downtrodden, it's a really grim story in the fantasy role-playing universe, you are still more than the average person. And the prototypical Dungeons & Dragons campaign has you guys, you know, your heroes, your adventurers. You know, there are people who aren't like you, whereas here in New York City, you're one of dozens of neonates, all of similar power levels, all newly arrived to the city within the past several months, all of grand imaginations and their own desires, whether it's to be a bon vivant, whether it's to be a survivor, whether it's to be some sort of political leader and controller. So for all of the power you guys have compared to, say, the humans around you, there are so many different people with all their agendas, and one of the selling points that for VtM has for me is how much fun I've had trying to devise, like, okay, what does this character want to do in this situation? It could become really burdensome for me to juggle and plot all that stuff down, but at the same time, it's like, the city is active everywhere. And even with all of the help I received from White Wolf's, like, its core writings in the rule book, as well as the New York by Night supplement, which I relied on heavily, by this point, the story is completely, it's changed. We're 23 sessions in. It looks so much different.
That actually reminds me of something. Obviously, Gerard called in the favors that I owed to the other Nosferatu, but David still owes favors to the Gangrel. I'm wondering if that's going to get called in.
It's possibly a situation. It's also possible that it, along with many other things, will not be resolved within this story, which I had vaguely set the boundaries of until when the next princess is crowned.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, when we're talking about vampires, they might choose to hold on to that favor owed for a century or two. Let it collect interest. You know, in the form of the person owing it becoming more powerful.
Of course, the longer you hold on to a favor, the more likely they are to just die.
There's that too.
It's
It's
a
a
risk
judgment
reward.
call.
It's
Yeah, they
yeah.
probably sized up David and maybe said, he looks like he's probably going to live more than a century, so whatever.
I don't know. He does keep getting knocked into torpor.
Fair enough.
At least when you go into torpor, you're only in it for a month. Marcus is in it for a year now.
I'm in it for an interval of months.
Marcus is in it for an interval of years.
And of course, we end up having to go through the entire situation as well. There are so many plot strings at this point dangling. In part, initially I've given the coterie some hooks in the first 2 chapters, and every now and then, I put something in that might be interesting to them, and they go with it wherever they see fit. But now all of the hooks that have been resolved are as a result of the consequences of their own actions. You've got Marcus's unexplained blackout whenever he was incapacitated by the snowman, whom we've learned was apparently an agent of Sevalod Cervini, according to the metagame, who apparently carried an artifact of Sevalod's inside herself. There's, of course, speaking of that, we have David, who has that same experiment within his own body, where he still has no idea what the hell he wants to do with that. From the ghost girl to Byron having his tiff with Gavin Andrews, to, Dragon Metro Cab Company, to Carter Vanderwayde, and towards all the drama happening with the Nosferatu, which there is even more of that. As Aaron can attest to the Tremere clan falling apart, High Regent Iceling Sturbridge being called away back to Vienna, all the shit with Sevalod Cervini that happened. There's, it's difficult to tell that this is an active and vibrant city because we're staring at a Java program, and for anyone who's listening in, you just have to use your imagination, but it's there. And my real concern was I gotta let the players, be able to try to rummage around the sandbox, and they've been able to interact with, powerful people here, and they've been able to become recognizable people on their own. In regards to what Archon Theobel is doing, the characters really have no business continuing to interact with him on a regular basis, and that's something I try to get the point across with. It would be like once the new prince is made, if they say try to hook up with Carter every other day. Hey Carter, what's happening, man? Got any cool things happening?
I mean, basically now we all agree if we're only gonna go talk to Theo about if it's really important, like super important, or if he calls us there. We're basically just gonna, live our lives not dealing with Theo Bell for a while.
I mean, you guys are, but, David has status too. He's more involved with politics than he even lets on to you guys.
And certainly more than he ever wanted to be.
Certainly that.
Do you actually get to find out who Match is in the end of the campaign, Laren? Well, Match is Leslie Cutter, who is Kane.
Well, listen, Match has what we need, so let's not look a gift Match in the mouth.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, he's also apparently from Shadowrun.
Apparently. Yeah, he was made up.
No, dude, he's from the future.
I will say that over the past several sessions, something that had been noted was, I noticed was I wanted to get Marcus Paulson's character more involved and more connected, so that he seemed more than just some guy who did nothing more than party. So
well, that sure fucking happened.
Yeah, good job, Grimith.
He's partying harder than ever.
Well, I wanted to do that, but obviously the whole situation wrote itself. He got evicted for some reason. He ends up sleeping at the Majestic, which, I warned you guys about, had some bad happenings, and it's perhaps a reasonable situation that it could be haunted because it's the world of darkness. Marcus sleeps there for a long while. He ends up getting attached to some wraith that manifests itself in the form of a little girl, who then proceeds to terrorize him by giving him horrific visions that are still going to be lasting him for a long time.
What, like 2.5 months still?
Yeah. And so, Jordan took the situation to his own hands. He looked for a means by which he could deal with the ghost, and he used his Cain-given disciplines to resolve the matter.
The situation that's arisen afterwards, though.
I mean, I wanted to see all 4 characters equally interact with the campaign and sculpt it and shape it in all the ways they could. And as we've joked about, this is Marcus's time, driving the bus, and he's drove it so well that's fucking crashed. It went off the goddamn bridge.
I guess I had my heightened senses on. Someone had their high beams on. Right into the East River.
If only you had just let Joseph handle it.
And while we may not see everyone's, specific clan weaknesses, all the characters definitely do have weaknesses. Marcus we may not see, his some sort of Toreador mesmerization thing regularly impact. That doesn't mean it's not there. We've gotten into this discussion before where I've harped on that to anyone listening as well as for the players themselves. It's still there. Marcus does have weaknesses. All the characters too.
I mean, and it's entirely possible that if someone tries to shoot a gun at me, I'll get mesmerized by the gun. Which will be hilarious when it happens.
Like, oh my god, that gun's amazing.
It hurts so much,
Of
but
course,
I can't look away.
I think it's just as possible that you'll get mesmerized by the fight itself and try to prolong the fight with as much violence as possible for as long as possible. Remember, the Toreador weakness causes you to want to be involved with, in whatever way, the art in question. So if the art is combat, you'll want to extend that martial art as long as possible.
Yeah. This is amazing choreography. Wink, wink.
So you'll keep that disc going for as long as you can.
Yeah, that verges on the anti-Tribu Toreador. They're more into the masochistic type art, shall we say. So getting in fights is definitely up to them. And also sadistic. They're sadists, I believe. And I think that's what they're called sometimes. The Sabbat Toreador, sadists.
And for chaotic idealism, for not being really sure why Marcus went and hired the necromancer, he did that before Joseph somehow summoned the ghost to be in his church. And obviously Marcus is going to operate under the reason I just spent my money on this, so I'm gonna meet with him, A, and B, just because Joseph's lol, I got this, doesn't mean that this very dangerous creature who just raped my fucking mind is okay to be in this world.
Marcus did Joseph a favor.
I mean,
too bad Joseph doesn't believe it.
I mean, obviously, Marcus, for all of his, blithe nonchalance, I mean, it's kind of a big deal to have this wraith out there fucking with people's heads, like Marcus's head. And understandably, vampires can be vengeful and vindictive towards the things that have harmed them, and let me tell you what, that little girl has currently experienced the vindictive.
Marcus can be an asshole.
This is why you need to be careful before you, take hostile action against something. You better be damn sure you're gonna finish it.
I wanted to confront the ghost maybe before this, but I wanted to go little girl, I'm a fucking vampire.
Obviously,
doesn't that scare you?
Marcus tried lesser means by which he could communicate with it, but the little girl ghost with the wraith was stonewalling him. And so, and not only stonewalling him, but then proceeding to screw with his entire perception. For For a long time, Marcus has been stable in his bon vivants. That, no matter what, he could at least rely on his perceptions and his sensibilities, particularly when he was sober. That has been completely derailed, so that even though he tells himself that the little itches at the edge of his vision aren't real, that doesn't mean he doesn't feel it for those seconds.
And side note, Marcus actually did try for quite a while to convince the ghost, with words and reasoning, to leave him the fuck alone.
Marcus really tried to help.
and that ghost's response was to punch him in the mind.
Yeah. Just note, for anyone pointing that out to Joseph, Joseph doesn't believe that. Joseph got information from the girl, and it wasn't that difficult. He just had to be nice.
I'm trying to walk that out for anyone like Chaotic Idealism who's having difficulty expressing that. Like, what do? Do you just let the ghost continue to haunt you and exist and fuck with your mind for the rest of your life? But we know out of character that the ghost was never gonna fuck with Margaret. Really? Really? You do? Are you sure?
Oh no, we don't even know out of character that she wasn't going to go back and fuck with him. I'd still willing to bet that if he stepped wrong, she would have fucked with him just to fuck with him.
Yeah.
I mean, she was doing that entire act she was doing with Joseph might have just been that, an act.
And that's
Could
actually
very well
what
be.
David believed.
Yeah, Joseph,
David
is of the
kind
mind...
of understands the vampiric condition, but any other flavor of monster, he doesn't understand them, and they are dangerous. In a way that's hard to understand. He can wrap his head around vampires because, experience.
Yeah, take that and notice that she had the powers of dementation.
Okay,
and then
chaotic
realize...
idealism. If she did it unknowingly or during a tantrum, that makes it worse. That means
Because she can't control the powers.
That means she's uncontrollably dangerous.
That means she could be even more powerful if only she focused herself.
And it also means that she's a danger to everyone, not just the people that she's intentionally targeting.
There's no telling how many people she's haunted, what sort of crimes she might be responsible for. I mean, if she apparently died in the 60s and this is the little girl, the Majestic was still inhabited until the 80s, after all the horrific events surrounding it. I mean, it's obvious that there's a reason why it's still derelict, why it never got bulldozed, because anyone who might have tried to come do that in the first place was terrified and terrorized away.
And she might have caused those murders that the Majestic is well known for having had.
I mean, the Majestic site that the Coterie was trying to renovate, maybe that just would have been a complete money sink for years and years and years, because any construction crew that Byron or Evelyn sent just quit. Without explanation, because with the powers of chemistry and dementation and, vicissitude to appear however she wishes. And she feeds on passion, because wraiths feed on passion, and they're going to be passion and terror.
See, Larry, here's the problem. David's not exactly the scheming flavor of vampire that tries to put together whatever resources he can. He tries to eliminate dangerous things, resolve dangerous situations. He's the idealist trying to protect people and get rid of the dangerous things, or at least control them as much as he can. He doesn't want a ghostly weapon. He wants the ghost gone.
And here's chaotic idealism, the thing about your logical reaction. Logic kind of gets thrown out the window when you become a fucking vampire.
Well, and more importantly, it's a clearly dangerous entity. It's not a little girl, because at the very least, it's decades older than that. And it's probably fucking insane. Whatever the fuck it is. It is an illusionary monster capable of breaking things' minds with apparent casual ease, and a gleeful laugh about it, and has probably been responsible for the deaths of many of the people murdered in the Majestic ever since. It's a monster.
And
It's evil.
and it's almost no way really telling if it's innocent or not. That's something we could have checked for years and years and never found any information about.
Of course, it's also very possible we could have ended up looking for a few days, found a lead to the killer, and found him, killed him, sent her on to a better place.
And we could have done that and she still could have gone nowhere.
True.
Joseph ends up being an idealist of his own, particularly when it comes to children. I knew the moment that I created this ghost, if it ever got in touch with Joseph, that it would touch on his character. It would be up to him to try to determine where it went from there.
Yeah, if it had been him in the Majestic, things very well may have changed very differently. Joseph may have burned the entire place to the ground.
Tiberiosity, first of all, the Semitsi can't deal with non-corporeal entities. They specifically deal with corporeal entities, with flesh crafting. It's the Giovanni with necromancy who deal with ghosts.
And to a lesser extent, the Tremere with just fucking magic.
Right, and to a lesser extent the Tremere. And probably anyone with high enough auspex to astrally project, but I'm not sure about that.
That's 5 dots of auspex. How many people do you think have that?
Like, one in the city, maybe?
And like the old man said, even if you could deal with a non-corporeal entity, you can't really get rid of it.
No, it's, the Tremere are the ones with blood magic. Though I guess some Semitsi do have Kuldunic sorcery, but I don't think that's really used against ghosts for the most part.
The most important thing to keep in mind is that ghosts are very seriously dangerous to vampires because ghosts can interact with vampires. Most vampires cannot interact with ghosts.
At least with a mage or a werewolf, you have a chance of killing it.
A mage is mortal. You can handle mortals, no matter how powerful they are. You can still try to manipulate them or get the jump on them. Lycans have their own rules by which they operate. They aren't incorporeal and cannot mind fuck you. At least not the ones that the coterie will end up encountering. Ghost?
Thing about a mage, they still die to gunshots to the head. Usually.
And you can just eat them.
Yeah, their blood tastes pretty.
Their blood tastes gorgeous.
It tastes it tastes beautiful. I don't
It
even know if
tastes
there's
radiant.
Is there even rules in Vampire the Masquerade 20th Anniversary Edition about drinking mage blood or
No.
werewolf blood?
No,
I
it
doubt
just it provides a limited description of the various other opponents that you can fight.
Interesting. Because in Requiem, they actually list out what happens if you drink mage blood. I think they get, like, high off of it, like LSD. I'm not
Dexy,
remembering.
There are conflicting accounts on whether or not you can ghoul a mage. Some say you can because a mage is fundamentally human. Others say that it automatically kills the vampire trying to ghoul them. And still others say that the mage is simply immune. It depends on which version of the old World of Darkness you're looking at, and which interpretation the storyteller is going with. So that's actually a hotly contested point.
The point of the matter, though, getting back to something relevant to the coterie, is that there are very few people who can actually deal with the Shadowlands, ghosts, wraiths, specters. The coterie had initially sort of limited themselves to the idea like, alright, it's just the Giovanni, how do we get around with that? But calling match, and this is something I had planned on as well, for 2000, match would get you what you needed, which would be contact with a necromancer outside of the city limits. Whether anyone in the coterie, like basically whether Marcus pursued that, I didn't know. It was just an option he could pursue, and he did. And it ended up resulting in this event.
And I'm not asking for you to tell me this, but the impression that I got is definitely that he was one of the Euthanatoi. Especially because of the sense of certain spices.
I'm not asking you to react to this, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even know what that is.
Ha, fair enough. They're the mage, the ascension tradition that is built around the death sphere. They originated as a sort of a tradition focused on Indian-style reincarnation and the samsara cycle, and eventually got exported westwards to Greece, where they were incorporated into their death mystery cults. And they're basically an organization of mages built around the idea of keeping life and death balanced, making sure that ghosts move on to the other side, and the people that need to die do die.
Yeah, they're very much into reincarnation and the wheel of life and karma and that type of stuff.
Okay, everything that I've done for this campaign in regards to like looking for rule sets and ideas, at least in regards to like say what character this would be, I have not delved into mage or werewolf. Everything I get from Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm fine with that. I'm just saying that's the guess I would have made using 100% meta knowledge that's largely irrelevant to all of this.
Of course, we get back into the whole joke of, David had brought up the idea, well, why don't you aura perception? Never happened. Marcus was too dumbstruck by what happened. Didn't think of it.
Sorry, wait, what was that?
He didn't use Auspex too. Never tried to aura perception him.
Just cut the struck. He was too dumbstruck.
Yep.
Yeah, I was way too dumbstruck.
Too flummoxed. To be dazzled. I mean, and that was meant to be a serious scene as well, if Marcus ever returned with the required resources.
And thanks to telepathic hacks, I had the resources.
Yep, totally telepathic hacks. Is there any community source of more concrete rules decided by consensus to deal with the vague rule set in the book? I mean, VtM's been out for over 20 years. I would imagine there are definitely communities of storytellers who have talked about this shit.
Usually each given gaming community has their own set of house rules that conflict with everyone else's house rules. Like, for example, the ruling that Grimith gave today about how Obfuscate 3 works, with it lasting, until David goes to sleep, and he doesn't need to spend the Vitae until he manages to get enough successes for it to matter, and that sort of stuff. It doesn't say one way or the other in the book, so Grimith went with what made sense to him. Others might say, well, it only lasts a scene, and you have to spend the Vitae at the beginning when you decide what appearance you're aiming for. Both are 100% valid interpretations of the discipline as presented. And I kind of think that's a problem with the system.
Yep. I think something that has become more readily apparent, especially as I've talked about it over the past 20 plus chapters, is that this system is wearing on me. I have grown increasingly tired of it.
Yeah, there's just so much gray area in it. So I can see how it can wear.
And Tiberiosity, uh, usually dismemberment is represented by aggravated damage. Like if you chop off an arm, that's usually some level of aggravated damage, which requires, what is it, 3, 5?
5 blood points.
Yeah, it requires 5 blood points, an entire day of rest in order to heal 1 point of aggravated damage. So if you've lost an arm, you'd grow it back eventually with a lot of investment of time and energy.
No, there won't be another story arc. I said at the fucking beginning of the campaign, Larry, and I said it numerous times during the campaign, Larry.
What happens to New York City after there's a new prince? Well, use your imagination.
Or maybe there's even going to be an epilogue.
Probably not.
This is what happens.
The plan was for there to be an epilogue, depending on how the story ended. Like, for example, if Byron had not managed to save David and Marcus in fighting the snowman.
Exploding eyeballs would probably be 1 to 2 days, assuming they're well fed enough. Because I don't see that really doing more than 2 points of aggravated damage.
Assuming it doesn't get anything into your brain. If it's just the eyeball itself, then yeah, probably just a couple of points of ag, but if you start damaging the brainstem...
Yeah, Tiberiosity, when I mentioned the epilogue, I was definitely thinking of the Fallout series.
Actually, I
And the
think it'd
Vault
be
one.
interesting. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to have a short little epilogue thing where each character says what they think their character will do, and then Grimith can come in and say, "Yeah, no, y'all died," or whatever he'll say.
You're all dead. Get used to it.
I think we have.
David was stabbed to death trying to save this one guy. The guy was the one who stabbed him. David's an idiot.
End of story.
End of story. David's idealism was stupid, and he should feel bad.
That is a good moral lesson. I hope that's how it is.
Gotten a bit sick of you?
I mean, if he had, he could just, I don't know, kill us all off or torture us.
Or say, I'm not going to play anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've never understood people who are involved with situations that they clearly don't enjoy and are 100% optional, and they don't just say, hey, I'm not having fun, so bye.
You know, that's neither here nor there. But I did warn people, if potential volunteers, I did say this might not go more than a few sessions. We may get to the point where I decide that I don't want to do this anymore. You guys accept the consequences of that? Yep, okay.
Yeah, no, we were totally cool with that, and we still are. I think. I mean, I am. And it has definitely gone more than a few sessions.
Yeah, and to be to be fair, at the beginning of the summer, Grimith said that it's very likely this story will end by the end of summer, and 2 weeks of summer left. So, you know, there's something to go by. It's definitely lasted longer in that sense than I thought it would.
Well, Krypsyn, you would know that summer doesn't end until fall begins, right?
September 21st.
That is true. 21st. Right. Okay. So fine, 4 weeks. Whatever.
4 sessions.
Yeah, exactly.
Can the coterie get their shit together in time? Probably not.
And this might end up being the most epic sort of ending that these guys could actually get for themselves, courtesy of the fact that this is, you know, it's not some sort of NPC element that's directly involved here. Although they have all been influenced, these are all decisions that they've made, and the problem is one of their own making. Which I think perhaps the resolution of will be more epic and sort of emotional than any other ending that could be devised to this situation, because it's real and it came from them.
Side note, if it weren't for us, the old sheriff may have been the new prince, like, weeks ago.
Theo Bell would not be in the city.
Like, we have had a huge impact as a coterie on the actual politics of the city, and most of it was not intentional.
Completely incidental.
And most of it was behind the scenes for 99% of the people involved. So, well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but I would say there, except for Theo Bell, nobody really has a clue really what we've been up to. Not all of it, anyway.
I mean, we've done some really un-Camarilla shit.
Such as?
Such as Bat for the Anarchs.
No, that sounds pretty Camarilla to me.
I certainly wouldn't say anything you guys have done has been, un-Camarilla. I would certainly say that the things you've done have gone against the tenets of the sect, but seeing as how practically everyone goes against the tenets of the sect anyway.
Exactly. We've been super fucking Camarilla. We've been like a caricature of the Camarilla.
You
Backstabbing.
You guys have lived in strange times without your sires, without many elders to impose their will upon you, without an overbearing prince to repeatedly call you in and exact favors upon you, because you live within his domain, or her domain.
Yes, we have certainly lived in interesting times.
Side note, David is getting so sick of all of this politics that if it weren't for the fact that he would never want this, he would be tempted to just kill both of the current candidates for prince and declare himself the prince. Because fuck it.
That's one of David Green's many fantasies.
It's actually not. Like I said, this is something he would never want. Being prince is one of his worst nightmares.
Well, he wouldn't be prince for very long. So we wouldn't have to worry about that. But it's definitely noticeable. Someone made a mention of, like, this world needs like a team of DMs. It's a thing, but it's a thing I enjoy doing, and I would easily say I've spent 2 hours for every hour we've spent on Saturdays, just with me doing whatever it was I thought needed to be done to pertain to the session, whether it was me drawing a map, or me thinking about things, and that doesn't have to be done in front of a computer. Although it does end up being done a lot through a computer. It could be I'm walking around, or I'm cooking, or I'm in the shower, where the idea just comes, and I'm not so forgetful, I fucking forget the idea.
Yeah, I believe it.
It's likely been longer as well, it just, stuff.
what it's worth,
I'm
this
pretty
has-
sure Dimitri's... I'm pretty sure Dimitri's dead.
Yeah, didn't David find out that tentacle monster was Dimitri in Elysium? Or am I remembering that wrong?
No. No, Sevalod made a comment about poor unfortunate Dimitri. Dimitri's probably dead in some way, but there were no specifics.
Of course, you still... I feel as if the 4 players could spend an entire session going through all of the questions they have that they don't know the answers to about, and all of the hanging plot strings. Perhaps an epilogue could take care of that. Where they could just like prepare this list of questions, like what happened to blah. And I'll be like, do you want to know what happened to blah? It might shatter the moment. There's some magic to be had in not knowing, because what they might think is an awesome, cool mystery, I might not have found important.
It's true.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of at this moment that I would ask, and it's one I don't even want the answer to, but it would be, who burned down Byron's apartment? But I kind of like suspecting Jermaine, but not knowing for sure, so I wouldn't even ask.
Question I would ask is, what the hell is up with the Dragon Metro Cab Company?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Didn't think of that one.
Well, Joseph is planning on figuring that out when we, stop trying to kill each other. So
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, when do you think that's going to be? Who knows? Maybe what David saw on the computer screen will bring us all back together. We can set aside our differences and prance across the meadow and win everything forever together.
No.
I was gonna let Aaron take that one.
Yeah, well, the whole prance across the meadow thing kind of, telegraphed what I thought the answer would be.
I don't know, it sounded pretty,
Let me just tell you that no. This is the world of darkness.
And of course, befitting it, it was actually something I had planned out that was going to be revealed to David. And it just so happened that the session went on long enough that the message got sent to him.
Truth be told, I was actually, No, I shouldn't say. Instead, I'll type it to you, Grimith, so you can laugh about it.
Sweet, I love those moments. There are benefits of being a storyteller. Woo, Evelyn's car. This definitely was, not to mention one of our longer sessions, but one of the better sessions we've ever had in this entire campaign, I feel.
All right,
and
there
there
you
was
go.
no fighting whatsoever.
So yeah, check out that statement.
I mean, you've made allusions to it.
Wink.
It's great. Yes, you all prance across the meadow. You all take 3 points of aggravated damage from the blinding sunlight.
Exactly.
Roll for Rodtrek. First off, I want to know how you guys were resolute enough to get out there into the sunlight in the first place. The only person who's got in touch with sun is Byron.
Marcus.
Hey, now, I never said the
That's
meadow
true.
was in
There was
sunlight.
Marcus got a line across his face from where the sunlight is.
I forgot about the hotel. It was great. Are there any other observations or comments any of you 4 had to make about the session, or what you might be looking forward to or not looking forward to next session?
I'm looking forward to the climactic battle between Marcus and Joseph.
I noticed it now has become a battle between Joseph and Marcus and Sean of all people.
Marcus and Sean?
Yeah, that's what you keep saying, right? Right?
I heard Joseph.
No,
No,
I just
he
said-
keeps saying Joseph.
never mind. You've done it, I think, 3 times already. You said my name instead of Joseph's. Whatever.
What I'm looking forward to next session is Byron finally actually succeeding at some sort of charisma manipulation type role, because it's been 2 or 3 sessions where he's failed every dang one of them.
Good God in heaven, Ventrue, there's been a drought.
What was with that roll? 2 1s and 2 10s?
I'm
I
like,
just-
yeah, I'm reading the rules here, yeah, you can use it with a window fail. I'm like, well, fuck. I'm like, is he gonna try it again? No, he's gonna, use his enchanting voice. Fail. Fuck!
I know, and the killer is that if I had used the enchanting voice with the manipulation roll, and I had rolled just those 4 dice, I would have made it, because I have that stupid, well, it's not stupid, but I have persuasion as my focus for manipulation. So I would have been able to double count both of those 10s, and I would have gotten 2 successes. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just horrible.
There's certainly a lot of edge in having everything determined solely on luck in that front. Although, of course, the difficulty numbers end up getting set by me. Well, some of them. Others are actually set by White Wolf. Just like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? You fucked up. It's not me.
Yeah, in that case, it didn't even matter. He could have had a, I'm not even sure what the role is for that, but it could have been difficulty 2, and he still failed because he, got 2 1s and 2 successes.
It's true. Maybe Byron will diffuse the situation through his 8th generation dominate. Perhaps make them forget that this ever happened.
Yes, the 2 13th gens are at each other's throat. The 8th gen is just like, not gonna bother.
You are not
Yeah, I think-
destabilizing my domain any longer. Wait, what?
He'd botched the roll.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how Byron thinks about this whole thing, because it's a lot of conflicting emotions going on there. Because, yeah, he doesn't like what Marcus did, but he's just like, whatever, fine. He just doesn't want to deal with it. But but I don't know. If it comes to his attention and then they're all in the room, maybe he'll do something. But I think he's going to try the ignore it, maybe it'll go away approach, at least till he can't anymore.
David's willing to give Marcus some manner of the benefit of the doubt in much the same way that he gave it to Joseph. And if Joseph decides to take justice into his own hands against Marcus, David will return the act identically to Joseph. That's his plan anyway. So if Joseph ends up doing something to Marcus, whatever that something is, David's planning on doing it to Joseph too.
Well, let me just say that Joseph's plan at the moment is poetic.
Only the Malkavian could call it that, right?
I mean, I think that a person guilty of extremely negatively affected judgment, whose actions led to horrible things happening to an innocent person, doing something to a person in a similar situation, receiving identical punishment, is poetic in a certain extent too.
Joseph would prefer a court of law. It's not going to work in this case. Something...
Oh, David would love a court of law. If he was, like, ever to actually become the prince, which thank God it won't happen, he would actually establish a judge, a magister for the city to oversee cases brought by kindred before him. But then again, David's an idealist.
Metal Slime Hunt, the best ending for this campaign, which will be writing itself, it seems, before the end of August, is the one the players themselves write, through both their characters and through what the dice say. And I think that's it for my recording.
Yeah, it's almost midnight. It's time for me to head out as well, I think.
Yeah, I've got to go to the store before it closes.
Yeah, there's a person just begging to be lit on fire.
Get fucked, YouTube.
Get fucked,
Get
indeed.
fucked.